What is up, friends? We got a treat tonight. What you're looking at here is a 1967 Eska 5 horsepower outboard motor. Got the darn thing for free, but that's not even the best part. This is a one-owner engine. The guy who advertised it for free on Craigslist was the original owner. He has all the original paperwork here, including the original receipt, original service records, parts that he ordered in the 70s directly from Eska. I got a whole box full of add-ons and parts, and what we're gonna do is probably, it's gonna end up being a couple video series getting this bad boy running, and then possibly doing some restoration things, coating the tank and some other stuff to get her up and moving, and then finally we're gonna take her out on the lake and see what a 5 horsepower Eska can do after, what, about 55 years? Now, this guy gave me a little bit of a backstory on it. Like I said, he bought it brand new in 1967, paid $99 for the thing from Sears. Hasn't run since 1980. He said he put it away in a garage. He got out of boating. Dude was old, had to be about 80 years old. He said he put it away in 1980, hasn't started it since. There's no fuel in it, so that's all a good sign. That means it hasn't had to deal with ethanol gas, and it's kind of just been preserved. It was also a lake engine. It wasn't a saltwater engine, so there's not a ton of corrosion on it. So what we have here is a nice little survivor. What I'm hoping to do tonight, let's assess what we've got, and we're gonna get it. We'll see if we can get it started. If she's got spark, we can probably get it started tonight. We might have to dick her around with some things, and then in subsequent videos, if you guys are interested in the history on this machine, maybe I'll do a quick video on the paperwork. Some pretty interesting stuff here if you're into old motors. If you don't know Eska, they started making these outboards, I think, in about 1961. They sold them primarily through Sears, and they sold really well because they were relatively inexpensive and they had quality motors. The motor is a Tecumseh 2-stroke 5 horsepower. Tecumseh, great name, especially in the 60s, making quality stuff. And then the lower unit is what Eska produced. They sold a ton of these things. They sold a 3.5 and a 5, and then in the air-cooled, and then they sold a liquid-cooled 7.5 and 9, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I wasn't around in 1967, but from my research. Anyway, without further ado, like I said, we're going to dig into the paperwork and the box of goodies another time. But for today, let's assess what we've got and see if we can't get her to bark. Hopefully, it's got spark. If it doesn't, should be breaker points in here, so maybe they just need a little tickle, a little spritz of the good stuff. Let's do a quick walk around. I'm not gonna spend too much time, and we'll dig right into her. So like I said, 1967 model right here. They made this model from about 61 to about 1980. Metal up here, plastic cover, but I believe it's a metal gas tank. It's an integral tank, which is what I love about these old ones. Where's the cover? Right here. So you don't have to worry about a boat tank. These were 360-degree steer, so this is how it would be mounted on your boat, and if you wanted to go in reverse, you would literally spin the whole unit around, and now props pointing in reverse, which is interesting. I did mention that the motor is air-cooled, but the lower unit, the exhaust, is liquid-cooled, so I believe the pickup is this the pickup or is this the outlet? I'm not certain. I admit I've never worked on one of these before, but I have done a little bit of research. Looks like maybe it takes water in up here, mixes with the exhaust, or maybe that's the outlet. We'll find out later on. Let's see, what do we got going on down here? All right, I don't know if there's any oil in this lower. That'll be a project for another day. That all spins, it's free. And the motor's not locked up. If you watch the prop down there, when I pull it, pulling, and it feels like it's got compression, so that's a great sign. So let's start pulling these covers off. This guy took great care of this thing, but it does look like he lost the original hardware for this bit of cover here, so we'll get that pulled off. All right, that kind of pops right apart. There's our spark plug, little sparky boy. Boy, is that rusty. Let's pull this guy off, set that aside. There you have it. That looks familiar, right? It's just a regular old Tecumseh carb. It's got the dump valve down here, which, thank goodness, when I push it, no fuel comes out of. Yeah, that's your low speed adjustment right there. Choke over here. Cool, 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 cool. Let's figure out how to get this. Oh, it looks like this shroud might pop right off. Yeah, I think this shroud was actually just held on by the this lower band here. So now, oh, interesting. So at one point he was running it without the shroud. I wonder if it had cooling issues or if he just didn't like having the shroud on. I think we're at the point now where we can probably try to see what our spark situation is. I think I want to pull that spark plug square out of there. It is not 13/16. What size would that plug be? It's not 3/4. Oh, it is 3/4. There we go. 3/4. Okay, take your bets. You think the cylinder's gonna be all rusty? Oh, beautiful. That excites me. There's oil coming out of it, which is an absolute blessing for something that's been sitting, what, 41 years. If the guy's to be believed that this was parked in 1980, this thing's been sitting for 41 years. It's been sitting longer than I've been alive. Let me see if I can see spark first, and then if I can, I'll bring y'all in. Sound fair? I do not see spark. I assume this is the key. What is this? Oh, you want to know what this is? That's very interesting. Cool. Cool. Okay. I'm trying not to make this too much of a tirade. I just wanted to work on it, but I can't help myself. So I thought when I picked this up, this was a kill switch. It's not. This is your emergency tank. There's a duck valve. I think they call it a duck valve or a duck pump in there. It's a vacuum actuated little pump. You'll see. So what would happen was you'd have a secondary pump on the floor. So you'd run through this, and if you were to run out of this, it would start to draw, the vacuum inside the carb would start it to draw through this. That's really wild. That's very cool. You do not see that on snow blowers. Additionally interesting, here we go. Got serial number. Oh, you probably can't see that. I don't know how to get in there really good. Can you see better now? Well, the Eska Company Inc., Du Bois, Iowa, model number, is that it's 1165 maybe, serial number 47601. Pretty cool stuff. Here's the fuel shutoff. You can see the gas would come down through here, pass through this, can you see in there, petcock, which is also down here. So you'd shut the fuel off. The fuel was currently off, so that's a good sign. And then there's just not a lot to it. I do believe, I'm not mistaken, that this throttle might not just manipulate the throttle plate, but I think it also advances the timing. But we'll get into that later. I don't see sparks so far. I do see oil leaking from all over the darn place, but all right, let's see about clean. Well, do we see a ground anywhere? That's always the easiest reason we don't have spark, right? A ground issue. I mean, it could just be that this old plug is not up to snuff. All right, let's put you back on the stand. I'm gonna do some troubleshooting. If this doesn't do it, we'll get out the special screw. Ah, shoot. The last thing I want to do is mar all these up. So bring out, I don't know, what do you call this? Percussion driver? Whatever you want to call it. If you work on old dirt bikes, especially motorcycles, even cars, obviously boat motors, you don't have one of these, they loved using Phillips and flathead screwdrivers, and then they paint over them, and then they sit for 40 years. There you go. That's all there is to it. Let's see now, where else is she held on? Right, these guys are Phillips, but same situation. As long as we can clear out 40 years of rust, should be no problem to pop these guys right out. Are you ready? Oof, that is tough. Let me see if might have to use the flathead on that one. Does this bit fit any better? Not really. I don't feel great about it. Maybe we'll give it one shot. If it doesn't work, we'll go to the flathead. What do you say? That plan? That might work. Yep, there you go. Gets them every time. Jimmy jam that bad boy out. Whoops. Is that all she wrote, or is there more holding everything on there? There's definitely this fuel line. There we go. And there we go. Some confetti in there. We'll probably have to deal with that, but otherwise, what a beautiful tank, right? They just don't make them like that anymore. Metal tank with all your cooling shrouds, integral. I love that, man. Very cool. Yeah, I was right. This definitely retards and advances the timing, as well as affecting the throttle. That's what this armature is for. So we're gonna have to, I don't know what we're gonna have to do. I've never messed with anything like that. I've just heard about it. Let's see about getting this flywheel off so we can get to what I think has to be points. I just don't see how it's not points. Let's see if this little guy will do it. There we go. Let's see, usually, and I know this really bothers people when I do this, but this is the right way to do it. Get a little bit of pressure. Make sure you're not on anything important. And then, apparently that's a no-go today. There we go. Christmas. I know that just gave a bunch of you a heart attack, but I assure you, it's gonna be all right. I think what we're experiencing there was God knows how many years of sitting on there without ever coming off. Flywheel looks to be in good shape. Magnet's in good shape. Yeesh. Okay, let's get this guy tilted up. And as I'm sure you can see, it's a very common Tecumseh style breaker points setup. Flip that out of the way. This comes off. Oh man, they don't look that bad. Man, this thing was really well taken care of. Right there, you can see it says set points to 20 thou. Tecumseh. Easy start magneto, you don't say. So let's see. Put our key over here so we don't lose it. Boy, I do have to say, those points don't look dirty at all. Let's clean. Let's hit them with some cleaner. And then let's get the Motorb unit in place. That's the wrong size, but oh well. And it's about where we want them. Let's see, what are our points measuring at? Here's our 20 thou. And that is definitely not going in there. I'm really worried about this condenser. It looks pretty rusty, but let's start by putting our points where they ought to be. I think it's Steve's Small Engine Saloon has a great video on changing from points to electronic ignition. Now, I would never do that on something like this because it's a Survivor. And you know, half the reason it's so cool is because it's old school tech. But I would like to try that someday. Oh, that looks good. That's significantly better. Perfect. Calling that good enough for government work. Now, I think you should be able to see now how, yeah, see this actually moves the whole ignition system, and that's how it advances and retards the timing. It's pretty interesting, right? Oh, yeah, buddy. Y'all come over here. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it or not. I think you will. I'll try to get my hand out of the way. Did you see that? It was sparking. Oh, shoot, it was sparking. Oh, I felt it. It shocked me. That's why I was grounding it out. Right? Hold on, we had her sparking. Sparking good too. All right, here's the long and short of it. I'm going to tell you, we do have some spark. It's just crazy weak. See if you can see it. I don't think you're going to be able to. I almost have to be touching this, but in between there is spark. Try to see if you can see it. I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it. Now, what would cause it to have spark, but it's got weak spark? I still think this is a problem, so I'm getting ready to close this up for tonight. It is a school night after all. We'll be back tomorrow night. I'm not gonna make this a separate video, so yeah, I'm gonna come back to this tomorrow night after I've had some time to think on what it could be, and maybe just order a new condenser because that one's pretty rusty, dusty, and crusty. Alrighty friends, it's the next night. I slept on it last night, and honestly something just wasn't adding up. So I came back down today, I tore this all apart, I pulled the points, magnet and everything off, and put it all back together, reset the points, and lo and behold, I don't know if that was showing up on camera, but we have perfect spark. I suspect one of two, I think it was grounding out somewhere. Honestly, something just wasn't right. Took everything apart, cleaned a few things, but we're in good shape now. So we have ignition, and I think at this point, let's test compression. It feels like we have decent compression. Let's confirm that. Alrighty, now something to be careful of on these old Tecumsehs. I've run into this with snowblowers before. The probe ends up being a bit too long. You see, they use these really short thread spark plugs. Actually, this one's close. We might be all right. I've had it before where the piston wants to hit it, so you got to really, if you're doing this at home, is this the right one? I think we have the wrong, nope, there we go. Wrong probe. Anyway, what I recommend you do is to really ease it around. I think we're in good shape. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. Let's hook our gauge on. Take your bets. I'm betting we have 110 PSI. That's my bet. I'll try to leave this right there so y'all can see it. That was interesting. Right at 100. Yeah, I'll take it. 100 PSI on a 56-year-old motor. Or whatever it is, 50-something-year-old motor. Certainly it's good enough for it to run, and I'll bet you once it runs a bit, gets some oil in there, those rings will come around. We'll see 110. We'll test it again after we run it. The only thing left to do now is figure out fuel, right? That's the easy part. Alrighty, I would hope y'all know me well enough to know what's about to happen next. We slammed a little bit of the good stuff, a couple spritzes of the good stuff down the old throat hole. We put the Sparky boy back in. Let's see if she wants to bark for us. Yeah, that was a bark. There's exhaust coming out of down here. I know the drill made it hard, but look, there she blows. So that answers that question. That's where the exhaust comes out, which means the water intakes must be up here. So water just sort of Maybe it doesn't have a pump on this one. I know the later ones, the 70s ones, have a pump. The inlet's down here, and this little boss right here has a hole in it, but maybe the earlier ones, it's just gravity. I don't know. We'll find out later. That's a later problem, but that was cool. She did bark. Let's dig into the carb, and then we'll call this a night. All right, we're just gonna pop the bowl off. What in tarnation? Huh. Oh, I grabbed it. I was gonna say, I could have sworn these were 7/16, but I grabbed a 1/2 inch wrench. That'll do it every time. There we go. Before we even pop the bowl off, we should be able to tell the condition of the inside based on this jet. If I do say so myself, it does not look too bad. Should we pop the bowl off? Obviously, we've come this far. Yeah, it's got some rust in there. But everything else looks pretty good. I'm gonna do the silly thing and just clean the rust out of this bowl, hopefully without destroying this rubber gasket, which is in great shape. That's the beauty of two-stroke. You got the oil in there, so when the gas evaporates, you got a little bit of oil, keeping everything lubricated. I'm gonna scrub this bad boy out. We're gonna slam her together, put some fuel down her throat. Maybe it'll be just that easy, who knows? Believe me, I know I'm not doing everything I should be doing right now. You've seen me rebuild. Well, how many more Tecumseh carburetors have you guys seen me rebuild? I'm trying to see how easy we can, oh, gasket, duh. I'm trying to see how easy we can do this one, because if we can get her, I mean, shoot. I don't care if the carb's 100 years old. If it's clean, it's clean. And it looks pretty clean in there. Oh man, what in the world just happened? Well, that's new. Good gravy. I broke the main jet off inside the carb. I have never seen that in my life. I wasn't even giving her the beans. Well, that's how an easy job turns difficult. Good gravy. Now the carb's got to come off. I have more main jets over there on the wall of shame, but that's not the point. Actually, I have whole new carburetors. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the exact same carb that you put on a 5 horsepower. No, that's not true because it's got the duckbill valve, which we never got to look at. All right, here's the long and the short of it. I'm going to tell you, we're probably going to cut this one here because this just turned into a friggin' job. But you guys saw we were able to find spark in this video, which was good. We didn't have spark. We were able to get spark back. I think it was a matter of either bad grounds or something was grounding out when it shouldn't. Took everything apart, cleaned it up, put it back together. She's good to go. We saw that she has compression, 100 PSI, not bad, all things considering. And I'll bet you once we start running her, those rings will come back around and we'll get up to 110. Just got to get fuel in her and this thing will be a go. So part one, I'm ending it here so that we don't end up with a 40-minute long video. Leave me a comment down in the squawk boxes. If you have any more information on these old things or any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. I'm definitely going to do a video on getting it running. I already ordered some red coat to coat this gas can. So we'll do a video on how to coat a metal gas can. If you guys would like a video on the paperwork, just let me know down there in the squawk boxes if you're as interested as I am. I'm a history buff and kind of a history nerd, so original documents kind of get my motor going, no pun intended. So just let me know what you guys want to see on this thing. That's about all there is to it. If you like the video, that's common sense. Subscribe to the channel. All right, I gotta go to bed. Talk to y'all later.